Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of Webinar Wednesday, hosted by TLC. My name is Jamison Reynolds. I'm the Director of Marketing Strategy for the Library Corporation, and we are here today to talk about Library.Solution version 5.6.1. That is going to be the most recent release of Library.Solution that has not even hit the streets yet. We have not gone into full release, but we would like to host this session to kind of give everybody an idea of what our newest version, our latest updates, some of the overview of some of the things that you're going to find in this version. With me are members of the product team, the product management team for TLC. We are going to go around the room so everybody can introduce themselves. I will let everybody know a couple of things as we go into this. We are going to take questions as we go through this webinar. So if you will submit questions, if you have things you're curious about, please feel free to submit those through the session. We may not answer them right away. We may wait till the end of the session to get to them. And you may find that we cover the content as we go through. So I did want to set that kind of expectation as we do this. This session is for anyone who may be interested in Library.Solution. You do not have to be an existing customer to find any interest or value of what it is that we're talking about, because we will somewhat be talking about directions of the software and places we're headed with LS. So I did want to say that we do have two major library management software platforms. We do have Library.Solution and Carl. I do want to let folks know, in case you are from the Carl side of the house or interested in Carl, this session is going to focus specifically on Library.Solution. There will be a Carl session later, but this one is just for Library.Solution, or LS as you might know it as well. So I will also say that sometimes with technology, there are curveballs thrown at all of us, and the team that is about to do this webinar got thrown one right before this session started. We actually have 4 people on this session, even though you're seeing 3 webcams. Sarah, who is one of our product managers as well, is with us. For some reason, the camera decided not to work about 5 minutes before this session, and I promise you we did test it before we did this. So I can promise you Sarah is here, and you will hear her voice, just probably not going to see her. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Sam, let's go with the letters of the alphabet, and you get the honor of going first. So Sam, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself, say who you are, what you do at TLC, and how long you've been with the company.
Hi, my name is Sam Brenizer. I'm the Director of Product Management. I've been with the Library Corporation. This December will be 15 years working for the Library Corporation.
Awesome, awesome. And now I see Kim is on the screen. Kim, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Kim Mumbower. I've worked at the Library Corporation for 7 years. Previously, I was a customer of Library.Solution, and I was a customer for about 20 years.
Interesting, interesting. And Sarah, are you with us, Sarah? Are you here?
I am, Jamison. Hi, everyone. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties today. My name is Sarah Simmons. I started out in support with TLC, was there for about 1.5 years. I was also a software instructor for quite a few years, and I am now a product manager. I've been with the company for 7 years at this point.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so let's get into some of the meat and potatoes of today's session. Sam, as director of the POs, how does this specific release fit into your overall vision for the direction of Library.Solution?
Well, Jamison, thanks for asking. And as you know, and we've partnered and worked together, version 5 is evolving to meet the needs of the 21st century library. And you've heard me talk about it. We've sat in meetings together and talked about version 5. And really, version 5 is an evolution of the user experience, the data, and the workflows. And our goal with every release is to deliver a streamlined, intuitive, and operationally efficient workflows to support the day-to-day operations of our libraries. And version 5.6 is no different in the initiative, in the goal to meet these needs. And so for version 5.6, I'm really excited about the work the team did in this release to create workflows-based solutions that are efficient and optimized to create wonderful user experiences. For example, one of the things we're going to talk about is our implementation of Unbound today. We provided solutions that align to the workflow of both staff and patrons. So for example, that is when a staff member is adding a title to the catalog, the staff member can immediately view the enhanced content and has the option to report any inaccuracies to the content provider. This can all be completed while adding the resource to the catalog, and that's for the staff. For the patrons, I'm excited about the ability for them with the content elements being strategically placed throughout the user interface to assist the patron in making reading decisions. Whether the patron is trying to decide if the content meets their reading requirements, or whether there is similar content to meeting their reading interests, the enhanced content elements have been deliberately placed to align with the patron's search and discovery experience. These are just some of the examples of changes that are included in this release that support our overall vision for operationally efficient workflows in Library.Solution. And there are many other features in 5.6 that I could mention, but I will not mention all of them today. But one of the things that I think sometimes gets overlooked, Jamison, is really the technology upgrades. And version 5.6 does come with some technology upgrades.
So this is actually, and full disclosure for everybody that is listening in on this webinar, prior to, personally myself, prior to being in marketing, I was also a member of the product management team. So I will say that Sam and I, Sam alluded to some of the conversations that we've had in the past, and I'm actually kind of wanting to key in on something that we've talked about in the past, Sam, which is, you mentioned the technology upgrades, and the reason why I kind of want to circle back on this and the importance of this is I know when it comes to releases and upgrades, especially as end users, we want to know what the new features are, what are the new pieces of functionality, maybe what things have changed, enhancements, right? And the technologies themselves are found under the hood, and the customers themselves may not always see them right in front of them. So if you could, please expand on why the updated technologies are so exciting to you.
Well, in this release, Jamison, and subsequent our previous releases, we also updated technologies. But in this release, we had introduced a new version of Postgre, and we also updated the Java technologies as well. And that's part of the critical infrastructure of the product line, and you need to maintain the critical infrastructure to maintain the life of the product. And TLC is not building a product for the short term. We're building a product for the long term, and so that's one of the reasons I'm excited about it. Also, folks should know that consistently updating the underlying technological components used by Library.Solution over time improves security. It ensures ongoing vendor and community support for our developers, and can make additional tools, performance improvements, and other benefits available to those to help us continue to provide the quality and support our customers expect. So there's a lot of hidden under the hood value that these technology updates, and sometimes I don't believe they get talked about enough. And so that's the reason I'm excited and bring that thought forward in this webinar today.
Awesome, thanks, Sam. Now, Sarah, I'm just going to start asking you questions, and I'm going to assume that you're there.
I am.
Awesome. That alleviates some awkwardness that could have happened there, so that's good. Sarah, from an inventory standpoint, thinking about inventory is one of those parts of the library management software, like the whole platform itself, that people may not always think of inventory as a major piece, yet it is. And TLC was invested quite a bit of time and resource over our last few version updates into improvements and updates to inventory itself. So in your opinion, why is that important, and what in 5.6 expands and continues the development of inventory?
Jamison, I'm glad you asked that. We really have touched inventory a great deal. Version 5.5, which came out obviously before 5.6, we had the opportunity to update what was a good, solid inventory module, real-time inventory. And we were able to build a completely new way of doing inventory. I'd say a more transparent way of doing inventory, a more closed loop. And what I mean by that is, we considered feedback of not just customers, but also what we call internal stakeholders, our support staff, our database admins, and we really created a holistically, I would say, very stable inventory platform that allows a great number of workflows. We had, I said we had the opportunity. I do want to clarify that, because as a result of some of the technology updates that Sam noted, we came across a bit of a hiccup that RTI, real-time inventory, wasn't going to be able to be compatible with some of those, and that happens. That is simply a price you have to pay in order to keep your technology up to date. So we needed to make sure we stayed ahead of that, and we made sure we responded to our customers' needs. So in surveying our customers, this opportunity was there, but we needed to ask, was this something we needed to do right away? Was this a sooner or later sort of situation? And the feedback was overwhelming, and it indicated that our customers were planning for immediate or near immediate future inventory. So development was necessary then, which is why we put so many resources into it. Just making sure we didn't leave any customers in the lurch, making sure customers who were planning on doing inventory, but also planning to upgrade to 5.5 were covered on both situations. So we created this really, I know I'm biased, but this really incredible piece of inventory software. And then in 5.6, what we're talking about today, in 5.6, we went even further. And this is something that's really, really exciting, may even be the first of its kind on the market. We were contacted by TechLogic, by our friends at TechLogic, to not only expand on the scope of their CircTrack shelf management device, but also expand upon the scope of capabilities within our LS2 inventory software as well. So we were able to develop complementary workflows. Basically, we created what I've been calling an alternate inventory method. So with LS2 inventory, the basic, it's a basic inventory. You go out, you manually scan each item on the shelf. What we've done in 5.6 is we've used LS2 inventory as the container, but this CircTrack RFID device, while a librarian is already out there or a volunteer is already out there and they're already wanding the shelves to do their regular shelf management, we're also able to update the last seen date. And the last seen date, many of you may know, the last seen date isn't necessarily exposed in the software, so we needed to create reports in order to expose that. And these reports can help with weeding. As a result, these can help with a vast amount of shelf management workflows. We didn't stop there though. It wasn't just the last seen date. That's one workflow that can be undertaken using this new 5.6 inventory development. There's a second workflow though, and this is technically an inventory in and of itself with an RFID scanner, and it's really real time, which is cool. You're not having to bundle together a file of barcodes and download it and upload it into the software. Instead, a new setting we put in place, these new workflows we put in place, you're using the power of the CircTrack device along with the power and capability of LS2 inventory, and you're doing both shelf management and writing inventory dates all at the same time. So the best way to look at it is we've taken this existing workflow that the CircTrack device, that users of CircTrack are already doing, and we've added additional layers hidden underneath to help with everyday inventory processes. So we're really, really excited about that.
So yeah, Sarah, I have to say, I had, prior to prior to the reality in which we're in right now with COVID-19. As everyone can see, we're clearly in a post-COVID-19 scenario as we're all remoted in from someplace else. But prior to that, TLC and TechLogic were together at PLA, and we were able to do live demonstrations and show that functionality live to customers that were in the booth with the RFID using the circ track and how it worked within 5.6. And I have to say that, you know, having spent a decade as an instructor myself and doing implementations, the idea of having to pull each individual book and scanning and using that circ track and just going, it was pretty impressive. It was pretty powerful to see how that worked. So really kudos to you and the team for the work that happened there. And while I have you now, and we know at least your mics work, and we got you. Sam mentioned the Unbound functionality earlier. Can you talk a little bit about Unbound?
Absolutely. Unbound is another one where you could probably tell I'm excited about the TechLogic work, the 5.6 inventory work, but this Syndetics work is really awesome as well. And let me actually go ahead and share my screen here and give just a real quick demo of what we're talking about. So you guys can see my screen all right? All right.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect. All right. Sorry about that with the technical difficulties. Just wanted to make sure. My apologies, guys. All right. So what you're seeing on the screen right now, I have queued up a DVD in PAC, so in the online catalog. And this Syndetics work, it's got two layers to it. So enhanced content previously in Library.Solution was focused on PAC, was focused on the online catalog. And we, with 5.6, have expanded what content and basically content access means. You know, you have things in PAC already. You have the summary, you have the cover art. With Syndetics, there are editorial reviews as well. You know, there are related titles, so this helps you to determine other DVDs, other movies you may be interested in based upon what you've selected. So you get that you get that ability to dive deeper. You get that ability to really explore. You get that discovery aspect. You know, along with that, more info. You know, a lot of this to users of Library.Solution who are watching, it doesn't necessarily look all that much different, but it is expanded in terms of the range of information we're able to provide by working with Syndetics in terms of this data. And, you know, the best thing about it is we are now, it's now not that we are serving this data up ourselves, it's that you're getting this data directly from Syndetics. And that brings up the second layer of this work that I alluded to very, very briefly at the beginning. And what that second layer is if you or a borrower happen to see something in the content and you say, this doesn't look right, your cataloger or someone who has access to cataloging can bring that title record up. They can review the enhanced content from the record itself, from the title record itself. So you can go down, take a look at the information. We've split it out and PAC to make it more consumable, put it where your borrowers are expecting it to be. But in terms of catalogers, we're putting it all in one place. And some of you may have noticed this little link right over here, report incorrect or missing content. One of the things we are most excited to roll out is this link right here and the tool that underlies it. You are now able to self-report content errors directly to the vendor. So instead of going through TLC support, you can instead go right through and say, you know what? I saw something in the awards that was incorrect or tags that was incorrect, provide additional notes to that regard, and submit. So you can do that all while looking at the title record itself. And there's another aspect to this I do want to talk about. That's actually quite neat also. You know, when it comes to the Syndetics work, we need match points in terms of data. Otherwise, how is Syndetics to know what data is to be served? And those main data points, those main match points, are a UPC and or an ISBN. So those two standard number types are really what need to be present in order for Syndetics to serve up the proper information. So let's say, let's say I did away with all of these. And we'll go ahead and we'll save that. Oops, sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Go ahead and add that in. We'll view that test space. And you'll notice because I removed the ISBNs and the UPCs from that record, we don't have cover art anymore. If I scroll back down, you'll note there's a publisher number, but that's not an ISBN or a UPC. Those are the two, again, key identifiers for Syndetics. If I go to enhance content though, and I try to report right now, I'm going to be told, yeah, there's invalid standard numbers. So you're trying to self-report, but in this case, we know we need a standard number present. But if it's a malformed standard number, or if, as in this case, a standard number isn't present, you're going to be prompted to go back and to take a look. In this case, since there are no standard numbers, we're not taken right to the standard number area. But if you had a standard number, let's say we'll just put some junk in so we get the result we need to show you guys this. All right. We'll come back to enhance content and we'll click report and go to review. It'll take you directly to what the system has, based on the validation processes we have, it'll take you directly to the standard number that it has flagged as being invalid. So we're super excited, not just about the Syndetics work, because the content being provided is exceptional. A lot of times we use, I know myself, I use a lot of fiction works to demo, but for those of you who are nonfiction fans, DVD, audio or video files, there is a great amount of content for those types of material as well. So really, really excited to be putting this out to our customers, getting this work out into the marketplace. Really excited about the validation as well, because that helps both Syndetics in terms of their support as well as our customers as well. So really excited about all of that.
Yeah, Sarah, that work that the team's done, both with the inventory and RFID, and then what you were just showing with Unbound is pretty fantastic. Kim, before we come to you, I do want to let everybody know that's attending this that we do have a poll question that we'd like to go ahead and ask at this point. So if you wouldn't mind, take a quick second or two and read over this poll. Are your library materials currently RFID enabled? The other thing I do want to point out is while you're answering this question about RFID, we do have an additional webinar that was done a couple of months ago with more in-depth information on what we did with Unbound that was actually done in correlation with Syndetics. So if you would like more information as far as a webinar goes, we already have a webinar. So if you go to tlcdelivers.com/webinars, you'd probably be able to find that webinar there. And in addition, for our existing LS customers that are on this call, I'm willing to bet that with TLCU upcoming, our annual user conference, I'm willing to bet that our team here is going to be going into in-depth detail as far as Unbound goes, as well as everything else coming with 5.6. So if you have not yet registered for our first ever virtual TLCU, I would highly recommend getting registered for that before we go ahead and go live with that. It's a really good learning opportunity and a way for you to really hear the team as well as network with some other libraries. So our poll results are back, and the majority of people on the call are not RFID. We do have some that are looking to implement it, and about a quarter of you have the majority of your physical collection RFID enabled, so that's pretty cool. So now on that note, Kim, I'm going to go ahead and come to you if you don't mind. Within the library dot solution community, you have become pretty synonymous with cataloging. When it comes to 5.6, what are you excited for?
Well, every release always makes me excited and happy to be putting more cataloging functionality out there. But in 5.6, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention that have me very happy. I'm a happy cataloger when this work was done. So we made some improvements to authority control and how the cataloger interacts with authority control that streamlines one step in that authority control process. So in the title editor, when you have a title open and you're working on it and you come across an unverified authority, previously you had to leave the title to go into the authorities tab to review the local authority record and confirm that the data was correct. Now, if 5.6, you come across that in a title record, you can verify and edit that local authority from inside the title record. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can just take care of it right then and there. And in addition, you will see when you do a search of local authorities, and your local authority results will include unverified authorities as well as verified. And so that helps you select the appropriate heading that you prefer. And it doesn't matter if it's verified or not. You can go ahead and use it. Not everybody has permissions to verify authorities. So this is helping the workflow where you don't have to leave that title to go into authorities to verify things. So that's very useful. Another improvement, sort of an ongoing process, we're adding different title fields to the title editor and how they display. So one of the things we accomplished during 5.6 was to modify the note fields so that they are using a wrap text in addition to being vertical and responsive. So instead of scrolling across a long horizontal field, you've got a box that has it wrap text and you can see everything all at one glance. And that is really helpful. I just want to mention in passing, the final thing to mention that has me happy is that in the title editor now we've exposed the fields where you can enter the URLs for an alternative book jacket. So if your title doesn't have an ISBN or a UPC and you want to access an alternative source for that book jacket, that cover art, you can enter the URL inside the title editor. And LS2 cataloging will respond, display that image, as will LS2 PAC. And there's lots of other things I could talk about, but those seem to be the most significant, good ones to talk about. Lots of bug fixes.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. I will say before I pass back to Sam, to kind of wrap us up here, Sarah, I will freely admit I should say everybody that's on this call, Sarah and I have both been instructors for the company. We've both been in product management, and a lot of our conversations have circled around, some of the things that we've learned from the road, some of the things we've seen, stories from implementation, traveling, things along those lines. And I'm curious, after hearing you talk about, after hearing everybody on the team talk about what's coming out in 5.6, I'm curious what's in the software now that you had wished you had 5 years ago doing implementations.
I could pick out particular pieces of functionality we put in, but an individual piece of functionality is not the same as being on site, being asked, we'd like to know about inventory, and not having an easy way to be able to properly train on that. Again, real-time inventory, robust, good piece of software, but you could, if you started scanning, you could have ramifications later. With the transparency we've built into LS2 inventory, with all of the modification requests that we were able to incorporate into the work from our customers, and all of the experiential data, the things we heard from folks, the experiences, I mentioned I started out in support. I've worked with customers who have accidentally marked their entire collection missing because of a missing piece of data when they go to finalize an inventory. And it's as much about making sure the software is good and solid as it is making sure the customer experience is smooth. And I think that's what we've really done. We've made a smooth. We've learned from the points where we could expand and we could grow, and we made it, I think, a solid holistic overall experience when it comes to inventory. Being able to even do a partial inventory if you want, that would, if I could have trained that would have been beautiful. So just, yeah, really, really excited about that. So.
Right on. Sam, let's bring it back to you before we get to some audience questions. And so let's be blunt. This is all exciting. This is great. What's next?
So Jamison, thanks for asking, but if I could pause for a moment before I answer your question, the one thing I would like to tell our audience, for those who are current customers and using 5X and planning to upgrade to 5.6, I would like to let everybody know that reports also will be having book jackets as well. We haven't talked about that. We haven't shown that external to the company, but we're pretty excited about that enhancement in our LS2 reports, which is going to be really cool. So with that little exciter, thanks for asking about what's next. I would harken back to a webinar we did a few announcement months ago, where Jamison, you were working with Phil on user experience, and we talked about serials management. So that's what's next, and that's one of the things that we're working on. And don't set serial just because you're not utilizing serials management today. Please do not tune me out at this point. We're really working on a solution for serials management that's end-to-end, that's holistic, that is not just limited to the metadata management, but also includes all the components of serials, from the searching to the holds placement, filling of holds, all those things. And we're really working on a pretty exciting overhaul to serials management in 5X. And I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited about the serials management workflows. But I'm also really excited about some other things that we're doing with serials management. And while I can't give you those details today, you will be excited about them when you see them and have those new additional features in your hands. And so I'm not going to steal thunder from my product management team, but there's some exciting things coming down the track. And so there's some other things that we're working on. And oh, that's right, Jamison, you mentioned the TLCU conference. I could talk about that, but I'll tell you what, if you come to the TLCU conference in just a few more weeks, we'll tell you what else we're planning for 5.7, and those dates are the 26th through the 28th of October. Please don't forget to register for our TLCU conference. Jamison, back to you.
Sam, I love it. I love the marketing. That was good. I appreciate that. Really, in all seriousness, I know we are talking about 5.6. For those of you that have been to TLCU, you all know the amount of time that goes into talking about the things that are coming down the pike, things that have recently been released. It's a great opportunity. So that's why this team, and it really is a product-driven conference, which is why you've heard TLC mentioned once or twice. So I will say we did get a couple of questions. I did have a bonus question for everybody, but I've gotten some questions in from the audience. We try to keep these to about a half hour. So let me go ahead and get into those questions for everybody, and I'll try and steer these questions in the proper direction. And this one is to Kim. Kim, does the URL field Kim was referring to mean we can add an 029 field if we're actually speaking about specific mark terminology.
That is correct. The book jacket image is stored in the 029 field in the mark record. And this is now going to be, if you have a title record with the 029 field already present, it will display in the title editor. And when you add a new link to a cover art, it will also save as an 029 field in the mark record.
Awesome, awesome. And I will say, everybody, while we're kind of answering these questions, if you did have questions to ask, please do not hesitate to ask those as we're doing this. We'll make sure we'll try to answer your content for you as best as we can. Audience question. I believe this one is going to go towards Sarah. Can we fix an inaccurate Syndetics supplied summary, or do we report it to Syndetics?
That's a great question. So when it comes to the Syndetics content, since that is being served up by Syndetics, that's not actually a summary within your mark record. You could have a summary within the mark record itself that you've chosen to display. If it is a Syndetics piece of content, you would need to report it to them in order for them to make a correction.
Okay. All right, Kim, I did get a question here, another question for you. I can't help myself. I actually want to give this one a shot as the former cataloging product manager. I want to see if I can answer this question, and you tell me if I was right or wrong. The question for Kim is, are the 006, 7, and 8 fields available in CAT for viewing and correcting? Can we access the H in the 245 field? If I'm not mistaken, Kim, the 6, 7, and 8 are viewable through the mark view. They may not be editable yet, but that is, we are expanding more and more fields as evidenced by your update as we go through. And as far as the 245H, I understand that is a landmine type of conversation, but based on current standards, the H is no longer standard, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. In both cases, you were correct. Want me to elaborate or?
No, I think that's good. I think that's good. I'm sure that if you would like to discuss the 245H more in detail, I'm sure we have people on staff that are happy to engage in that conversation, as evidenced by a TLC blog post on our website that goes into great lengths why it's not. But again, I'm sure that this is a cataloging conversation that folks would love to get into offline from this webinar. Another question we just got, can other downloadable vendors besides Access 360 be integrated into our OPAC, for example, Overdrive or Hoopla? Who would like to answer that question?
I can take that. So Overdrive has the same level of integration as Access 360. So both of those, there's deep integration with both of those products. Hoopla also is integrated in the context of, you add their mark records. We provide a SIP server. If they do authentication via SIP, the authentication can occur via the ILS and Hoopla, but it does not have the functionality in LS2 PAC does not have the functionality where you see all your Hoopla downloads per se. So it's a lighter integration than the Overdrive and the Access 360 and the Mac and VIA platform as well. We also integrate deeply with Mac and VIA.
Okay. This is a question for Sarah. And Sarah, I'm going to add some conjecture into this one just to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. The question for Sarah is, can we simply suppress a summary? And I'm assuming that's referring to content that's coming in from Unbound and not necessarily going into a record and, let's say, getting rid of a 520 field. I assume that's what that's referring to.
That was my assumption with the question as well. At this time, the information from Syndetics Unbound will display. However, there is currently no capability to suppress an individual summary or individual data point on either a system level, suppressing all summaries or even for an individual title. So at this time, no, a Syndetics Unbound served summary could not be suppressed.
Awesome, thanks, Sarah. Now I do know we have one more poll we'd like to ask everybody. I figured now would be a great time to launch that question and give everyone a couple more minute or so to get any last minute questions in before we go ahead and wrap up the session. And again, we have mentioned TLCU once or twice, so let's go for thrice, if you will. Again, the link to register for TLCU is found in the comment section. This is an interesting year with the virtual format, and it has really opened up the ability, I think, because we've eliminated travel and costs of that nature. There's a lot of opportunity now for folks to get registered for this, and we are doing registrations based on the number of staff people that are coming in, and there are prices based on that. So highly recommend checking that out. All right. Awesome. PO product managers, PO team, thank you all very much for taking part in today's webinar. These are always a blast. These are always great to have. Thank you, LS side of the house. I believe we may have one or two from the Carl side of the house, and you all are up, I believe, next week. We do have a similar session talking about the Carl platform. I'm really excited about that as well. Everyone, thank you for attending today's webinar. We always appreciate the attendance. We always appreciate the interaction and chance for us to talk about what it is that's going on, sometimes with us, sometimes within the library industry. But really, this is a good opportunity. So thank you all from TLC. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, keep washing your hands, and please mask up. Thank you all. Have a good day.